Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Commanders upset the Eagles in a Game of the Year contender. Also, the Falcons celebrated a blowout victory over the Giants in Michael Penix' first NFL start. And why did Lane Kiffin and SEC fans suddenly go quiet? Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Washington Commanders took a step toward the postseason. Jaden Daniels, 5 passing touchdowns, added 81 yards on the ground in a 36-33 win over the Philadelphia Eagles, in which Jalen Hurts exited early with a concussion. David Harrison joins me from the arena after the game. David, this is a huge moment for the Commanders as they are on the verge here of getting into the postseason with a rookie quarterback, everything that they could have wanted out of Jaden Daniels and more, but the defense couldn't stop Kenny Pickett. So what is the big takeaway for you coming out of this one?
Oh, man, I think the big takeaway is the team is learning how to win really hard games. Unfortunately, they're also learning how to win when they shoot themselves in the foot. But these are the types of games. That's
important. That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's absolutely important because whether you shoot yourself in the foot or your opponent shoots you in the foot, in playoff football, you're going to get shot in the foot. Like, bottom line is you're going to get shot in the foot. How do you come through it? And, when you look at the Washington Commanders offense and going up against the number 1 defense in the National Football League, 36 points, yet you turn the ball over 5 times. Like, it's absolutely amazing to me. One of those turnovers, a fumble by Brian Robinson Jr., one of the two, was at the 10-yard line. It was at the Philly 10-yard line. So that could have been 39, 42, 43 points or whatever it would have been. Like the offensive performance certainly night and day compared to Week 11 when we last saw them. And it wasn't just getting Terry McLaurin more involved. Jamison Crowder, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Olamide Zaccheaus started off very slow, had 2 drops early in the game, and then comes up big on a couple of plays, gets 2 touchdowns as well. And like you said, Jaden Daniels, who this team has maintained from draft weekend that they don't need him to put on the cape. They don't expect him to put on the cape. But, man, Peter, 2 fourth-down conversions this week. He put on the cape last week. Kind of looked almost like it was the Alabama game where he kind of jumped up. Maybe it was Florida State. I can't remember. Whoever it was, but Jaden Daniels jumped up into a crowd of defenders back at LSU and got slammed down to the field. He kind of did a similar type of jump against the Saints defense. Fortunately, they didn't slam him into the field. Instead, he converted. And today, 2 clutch conversions, including a 4th and 11, where he had a scramble, take off, ends up getting 30 yards. Jaden Daniels is not putting the cape on every down, man, but when he needs to put the cape on, he's starting to. And the fact that this team can be so much better is actually, I think, should be terrifying to other NFL teams.
Yeah, look, David, I was on the Squad Show not that long ago saying Jaden Daniels was playing the best quarterback in the NFC this season. I didn't see anything on Sunday to make me back off that take. I'll be honest with you. 22 points in the fourth quarter. Is this proof of concept for the Commanders in the postseason? Hey, this is the best defense in the league by some metrics. And you put up, as you mentioned, 36, could have been 40 plus in this game. This is how this team can hang with the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has to be. And the upside, again, coming with a win, right? You can find these upsides, but part of the upside is Brian Robinson Jr. The Washington Commanders hardly ever win when he doesn't average at least 4 yards per carry. Not only did B-Rob not average 4 yards per carry, he didn't even average 3 yards per carry, right? Like Brian Robinson had one of the worst games of his career in this game. Yet again, like we just talked about, Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, this offense able to go out there, and B-Rob was able to still be a contributor down the stretch, picking up some blitzes, doing some things, never letting those mistakes in his rough night get into his head and make him become a detriment to the offense. I think that is a big part of this team mentality that they have. I think it's something that Brian Robinson is not going to help your fantasy team, right, if he was on your roster, but it helps his clout in the locker room. His teammates know he can go drop 2 balls on the dirt. He can have 0 production in the run game, very little production in the pass game. But you know what? When it's fourth quarter and they absolutely need him to pick up a blitz, he's going to stand there and pick up that blitz. And that's why he's still in the game when a lot of other teams would say, how do you have a running back that's fumbled twice not sitting on the bench? That's why, because B-Rob is still going to go out there and put his life on the line for his buddies.
I was going up against Brian Robinson, so it didn't bother me that much.
So you're happy with it?
Yeah. So I guess this is the one thing, though. Defensively, this has been the question all season. Can this team be good enough defensively the question before the season was, can they be good enough defensively to win games? Now it's, can they be good enough defensively to give a team a run in the playoffs? We're like almost to January here, David. Like, where are you on that question?
Yeah, I'm going to say that no, they're still not ready to help this team win a playoff matchup because look, I already had some of my insiders saying, what do we tell our Eagles fan buddies when they say, yeah, but Jalen Hurts got knocked out in the first quarter? Well, I know what I said to them, and this does ring true. I said, ask them if they said, yeah, but no Marshawn Lattimore, no Jonathan Allen in week 11 against that Philadelphia Eagles offense where until the fourth quarter, you guys are trailing by 4, you guys being Eagles fans, right? That's how they talk. In this game, yeah, but no Jalen Hurts. Now, no Jalen Hurts past the first quarter, massive, right? I mean, let's not try to sugarcoat this or color it a certain kind of way. Kenny Pickett is not Jalen Hurts, and like you mentioned, Kenny Pickett still did damage against his Washington Commanders defense. So certainly there are still a lot of areas to clean up. 33 points against any NFL team. I don't care how good you are. No defense is going to be happy with that. Certainly these guys are happy to be able to learn from this experience, what they win in their pocket, but they definitely want to come out here and learn from this win and continue to try to get better. The good news is they basically flipped the script quite literally. Instead of giving up massive amounts of points in the fourth quarter like they've been doing, they just gave them up in the first quarter, and then they tightened down and allowed their offense to catch up. Maybe that's the game plan. I don't know. Maybe you get to the playoffs and you give up 28 points to the Packers in the first half, but then you only give up 6 in the second, and Jaden Daniels is able to bring them back. I don't know if that's the recipe for success long term, but you certainly would rather take it that way than having the New Orleans Saints darn near complete a comeback win and losing to teams like the Dallas Cowboys and even the Philadelphia Eagles after having fourth quarter leads the way that you have.
You can stay up to date all year on the Washington Commanders by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Commanders on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. It was a Penix party in Atlanta on Sunday. Before we get to that, the Vikings clutched one out on the road against the Seahawks, unfortunately. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet hits, and you can go ahead and take a look at the second round of the college football playoff. Despite already having beaten Ohio State, Oregon, 2.5-point underdogs against the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl. I may or may not already have an Oregon plus 2.5 ticket in my pocket. Penn State heads into the Fiesta Bowl favored by 10.5 over Heisman runner-up Ashton Genty and the Boise State Broncos. Both teams are combined 10-0 in the Fiesta despite the larger line. This should be a good one. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Seahawks fought for their playoff lives against the Vikings, but came up just short in the final minutes.
Week, the Seahawks falling to 8-7, a crucial defeat in their home regular season finale, and maybe the finale at Lumen Field for the entire season, because a 27-24 loss to the Vikings, Connor, it has put the Seahawks out of control for their own destiny. They need some help to get into the postseason. They obviously have to win Thursday against the Bears, and they got to win against the Rams in Week 18. But that game in Week 18 might not matter. If the Rams beat the Cardinals, they have a better strength of victory. At least at this point, it's pretty slim pickings that the Seahawks will win that game on Thursday and the Rams win, and that Week 18 game actually has any importance, which is crazy to think, but that is how crucial this game was. Seattle had chances, and they just couldn't finish it off today at Lumen Field.
In their loss to the Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles starting quarterback Jalen Hurts left the game early after suffering a concussion. Backup Kenny Pickett threw for a $143, a touchdown, and a pick in relief.
Yeah, I haven't talked to the medical staff yet, so I don't have any updates on any of that stuff.
It seemed like he wanted to go in, and then he came out. Like, can you kind of walk us through what happened there on the sideline?
Yeah, anything that has anything to do with the head is out of our hands there.
And the Panthers, they get a win They defeated the Cardinals in overtime, eliminating Arizona from the playoffs.
They got to a 20-3 lead today against the Arizona Cardinals, a team that was playing with everything on the line. If the Rams won, they could not lose. The Rams ended up winning, of course, so Arizona knew they had to win this game. A tie did them no good. Losing obviously would eliminate them from the playoffs against a team that has thoroughly owned them over the last decade here in the NFL. The Panthers having won 6 of the last 7 heading into this matchup today on Sunday, and the Panthers came out determined to run the football on that opening drive. 11 of the 15 plays on that 70-yard touchdown drive were rushing attempts for 43 yards, 7:58 taken up on the clock. That's the same thing that happened last week opening the game against Dallas. Carolina was dedicated to run the ball, but then Bryce Young fumbles, and that really kind of kill the momentum, the R that they had heading into that drive where they were trying to go up and take the lead immediately. But today, they came out and they scored not on their first drive, but also on their second and on their third, 3 touchdowns on their first 3 drives. The first time in 98 games, the Panthers have scored 3 touchdowns to open up on their first 3 drives. That's the first time since week 17 of 2018 down in New Orleans, where Kyle Allen got to start that day, and Carolina won 33-14. In a game, a lot of people complained about the Panthers winning because of draft position, but that's the last time we had seen Carolina come out and start a game offensively. They did the way they did today against Arizona.
Michael Penix made his first start for the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, and it didn't just go well, it went great. Our Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman discusses how Penix made waves in his debut victory over the Giants.
But we got to talk about being pumped, right? The impressive, inspiring debut of Michael Penix against the New York Giants, where he finished 18 of 27, 202 yards and an interception. And that interception wasn't on him. That was Kyle Pitts bobbling a pass near the goal line just before halftime. So we'll blame Kyle Pitts, as we often do. All right. And this time it's legitimate. There is no, well, him and Kirk are on the same page. No, it was like, this was definitely Kyle Pitts' fault. So, now that we got some clarity on that one, but, what stood out to me was how balanced the Falcons offense was, especially in the first half. They ran 34 plays, 16 called runs, 18 called passes. And I would have guessed, if you had told me, okay, the Falcons were running 34 plays in the first half, I would have guessed at least 20 of those would have been runs, as opposed to what we saw on Sunday. And so that showed me that this Falcons coaching staff had a lot of trust in Michael Penix. And that was a big concern with only 2 days of practice leading into this game, a full practice with the ones. But it did not, show on the football field. You saw the poise, you saw the leadership, the inspiration from Michael Penix in this game. We actually got play action concept. I think I counted on my notes, like at least 4 play action concepts in the first half. That's would be, 22% of their at least first half plays were play action, which is almost double what they were running play action from Kirk Cousins, the 13% prior to this week. And several of those plays, I think 3 out of the 4 play action concepts, they were attacking the middle of the field. Guys were running over the middle of the field, attacking is sort of that intermediate area behind the linebackers in front of safeties. And I'm like, Zach, what are you doing? What are you up to, Zach? Like, this is not what you do. You opened up the playbook for Michael Penix, or were you just shutting down the playbook for Kirk Cousins? Because it's like, well, Kirk clearly couldn't run those plays, right? Like, could he? I don't know if that's true, right? We saw the split zone run action on the opening drive of the third quarter. Like, this was, I thought, was going to be their staple play action concept this year. Charlie Warner dropped that pass on that particular play. And we waited till week 16 to run it. And it's like, okay, Zach, I see you. So if you had a conspiracy theory that Zach Robinson was holding back his offense under Kirk Cousins, you definitely have fuel for that. But obviously, the takeaway for most people is going to be, well, he couldn't run those things because Kirk is incapable of running those things. I don't know if I agree, but hey, certainly he added fuel to the fire, right? Actions speak louder than words. And Zach Robinson, the Falcons offensive coordinator's actions told you today that he did not believe that Kirk Cousins was capable of running the sort of basic play action concepts that we, back in August, we're like, oh, this is what they're going to do. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. This is what this offense is going to look like. And, Zach was like, sure, when Michael Penix gets here. So, hey, better late than never is basically my stance on it. And so, I think Zach is just proving himself to be an everydayer. He was tired of the slander that I have been giving him these last couple of weeks on the podcast, and especially on some of the extended all 22 reviews for the Locked On Falcons insiders. If you want to become one, join the link in the description below, where I was breaking down the film and I'm circling all these wide open, middle of the field stuff with the play action that they were calling and whatnot, and Zach being like, I refuse to have receivers run routes into that area of the field until today. And all of a sudden this offense clicked. And it's like, yeah, man, this is what this offense should have been all season long. And so I'm not going to belabor the point. It wasn't, right? Question is, couldn't have been, or just it didn't be that version of the offense. And we'll just go with it didn't. It wasn't that version of the offense. And so we got to take what we can get. Beggars can't be choosers, all that and more. So if this is what this offense is going to be for the rest of the season and into the future, as Kirk might say, do you like that? And I would say today, I do like that. Yes, Kirk and Zach and Mike, I do like what this offense looked like. So, didn't love the meandering path we took to get here, but hey, at least we're here. So I will take what I can get with this football team. And, again, on top of the thing that perfectly summarizes Michael Penix's day is, we had the Kirk Cousins chaos meter, and I'm workshopping this, guys. So you guys let me know if you like this. This is the Penix pulse meter, right? Initially, I had the Penix panic meter, and then a Locked On Falcons insider by the name of Alex was like, make it a pulse meter. That sounds a little bit better. And it was like, yeah, because the panic meter was like, is Michael Penix the quarterback of the future? And it's like, no, let's make it the pulse meter, right? We got to, especially with a player like Michael Penix, we got to worry about the blood flow, right? It's very important to have that blood flowing with Michael Penix, right? So we're still workshopping it, but here's what I've come up with so far, right? And same 5 levels, right? Or similar 5 levels. Let me say that slightly different, right? Level 1 is the pulse is barely there, right? We're very concerned about Michael Penix and whatnot. It's like, he was like, did he even show up or whatever? And number 2 is it's just a steady, solid pulse, nothing to be concerned about. I think that's what Penix was today. But level 3 is that strong pulse, like the adrenaline is going. That's sort of stand in for what we saw with Kirk Cousins chaos, with the peak version of Kirk Cousins for that level 3. And that's the ideal pulse that we want from Michael Penix. And then level 4 is the pulse is too high. It's too high. Right. And now we're in the point where I think we're going into cardiac arrest. Right. That was the Kirk Cousins being chaotic level. This is the cardiac arrest for Michael Penix. Right. And then level 5 is he dead. Right. He's DOA. Right. No pulse. He's dead. Hopefully we'll never get to level 5 with Michael Penix at any point. So still workshopping this. Another Locked On Falcons insider, also named Aaron, suggested less of, we don't have a plucky name for it, but just sort of evaluating Penix on certain levels in terms of his rookie status. Level 1 is a typical rookie. Level 2 is, I think we got something. That's what I would give Penix in this case. Level 3 is rookie Matt Ryan. Is that you? Or level 3 is like, oh God, no, it's Devin Ritter all over again. And level 5 would be, sorry, Kirk, please come back. So I welcome your feedback on where we should be, the Penix pulse meter, all these various things, any suggestions you guys have for me. We'll see what the film says. But again, I think in both instances, level 2 being a steady pulse, or level 2 is, I think we got something when it comes to evaluating the rookies. This is the thing.
You can stay up to date all year on the Atlanta Falcons by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Falcons on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, where in the world is Lane Kiffin now? Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Ohio State might have gotten their swagger back. The Buckeyes throttled the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday night en route to a Rose Bowl rematch with the Oregon Ducks on New Year's Day. Following the victory, Locked On Buckeyes host Jay Stevens and Locked On College Football host Spencer McLaughlin began to wonder, and I wonder, why have Lane Kiffin and the SEC fanboys suddenly gone so quiet?
Indiana played Ohio State closer than Tennessee did.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, sure did.
That's actually sadly true.
Yes, it is. It's not just sadly true, Jeff. It's Tennessee aggressively true. Because remember, and think about it like this: 42-17 versus, was it 38 to 38? What?
15. They went for 2.
Yeah, right. 38-15. Ryan Day didn't have to score that last touchdown for Ohio State. He wanted to. to get it to a 23-point win. Tennessee scored when this game was already a bigger margin than it ever was. Lane Kiffin has to be shaking in his boots right now as the biggest whiner in college football at the moment. Put him on the side of milk cartons because I don't think he's tweeted in like 5 hours.
He's nothing to say. He has nothing to say at all.
No. It's just... Oh, man.
That's actually a great point.
The SEC fans were having a field day. See, this is why you should have let in a 9-3 SEC team that lost to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, or a 9-3 team that lost to Kentucky. This is why you should have done. Boom! Biggest loss by margin of victory in the entire first round.
You got creamed.
This is what happens when you talk that smart talk. When you talk that slick talk. SEC fans were livid with how the college football playoff started, because it started with a bunch of teams that the SEC fans thought those teams aren't very good, and they got rolled. And you go, okay, well, so then Alabama should have been in, Ole Miss should have been in. Of course, Lane Kiffin thinks that. But then the big boys started to play. You know, we're not talking about SMU. We're talking about Tennessee. This was supposed to be a marquee matchup against Ohio State, and Ohio State put the bang thing on Tennessee. This was supposed to be the SEC's moment to show, hey, look, we're the big bad SEC. That's how the SEC fans always feel. And some years they're right, and some years they're wrong. But every year they believe it just matters more in the SEC, right? Just matters more. Well, I guess not. And finally, since the transfer portal opened in 2021, the Army Black Knights have seen just 14 players use the portal to leave the program. However, Army started running back Kanye Udo. He entered the portal last week and committed to the Arizona State Sun Devils on Saturday. Udo is coming off a career season, rushing for 1,117 yards and 10 touchdowns. The service academies hardly ever lose players, but to lose one like this, Udo might be the biggest cultural shift in portal history. I don't think that's hyperbole to say. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Packers lock up a trip to the playoffs against the Saints? Well, they can't anymore, sorry. But they still got to keep pace in the NFC. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.